And the Kings are back within 5. It's 86-81.
Oh, I sure hope we get the return of Trey Lyles tonight. We're not quite sure, but he's getting very, very close to returning to play for the Sacramento Kings. Welcome back into the show. Jason Ross here with you. No Carmichael Dave. He's back next week. And as promised, each and every Wednesday at this time, we get a chance to check in with the TV analyst for your Sacramento Kings, the one, the only, Kayte Christensen. Kayte, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. Are you ready to get out of New Orleans at this point?
Yes, I'm ready to get out of New Orleans. I'm ready to come back to Sacramento, but we still got one more to go after this.
Yeah. Is the team doing Thanksgiving in Minnesota? What's the team plan?
Yeah, there's going to be a Thanksgiving dinner in Minnesota. We'll leave tonight and be there quite late, and it'll be quite cold, but hey, one more to go, and then we're back.
And you've done this before long enough, whether you're an athlete playing the WNBA or now working for the Kings for so many years. The holidays don't wait. You guys have to do this. I'm sure you miss being around home, certainly for Thanksgiving. That's got to be one of the challenges for you.
Yeah, it is, but it is so common now, so it's like we've done it before, and you kind of readjust your family plans to fit your schedule. And at least we're home for Christmas this year, but I think we're going to get to the point where Christmas might be off the calendar for us.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a good problem to have in a sense. And
that's a good problem.
Yeah, as we're talking to Kayte Christensen here on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. So, Kayte, I'm kind of taking last game as a one-game aberration for the Kings. They were playing so well, and then they really got worked in the paint. I was surprised at how lopsided that became, really on both sides. I mean, Zion did what he wanted, but the fact that De'Aaron, Sabonis, and others couldn't do anything in the paint at all, that's got to be changed as quickly as tonight for the Kings.
I would hope so. I think it has a lot to do with the three-point shooting. When you look at the numbers for New Orleans, I mean, they're a very good defensive team because they're very long and their perimeter players are all really good defenders. I mean, they're stacked with good defenders on the perimeter. And so, they really kind of pack in that paint and force you to shoot the three. And then they do a great job of coming out and contesting. Going into our game the other day against New Orleans, I think they were like third in the league for, the most threes attempted by their opponents, but they were second in the league in percentage allowed. And so since the Kings had such a hard time getting their three ball to drop, it really just allowed them to continue to pack in that paint. And, De'Aaron took a ton of threes, wasn't able to get them to go. And you kind of need to do that if you're De'Aaron to open up the lanes for you to drive. So it was just one of those nights, I look at it as, sometimes, you play the schedule most of the season and sometimes it plays you. And that was definitely the schedule playing them in the first one against New Orleans.
All right. So now it's maybe more of an even setup, at least have a day off, I'm sure film and workouts and all that to maybe even a different scheme. What should the approach be? Again, easier said than done, Kayte, you know this, but Zion's a problem, especially when he's cutting through the lane, getting to that left side, so physical. What's the better attack or approach today on Zion Williamson?
Yeah, I sat through walkthrough the other day and listened to the whole, plan in terms of how you're going to defend Zion and how you're going to kind of defend the Pelicans as a whole. And there's not a flaw in their game plan. There's not. I mean, that's pretty much all you can try to do. But Zion is so deceptive with his size and his ball handling capability. He's not a big that operates off the low block. They always put him usually on that right wing, and they run a lot of misdirection screens and DHOs, the dribble handoffs with their guards to kind of distract the defense for a good 10, 15 seconds. And then they kick it to him when they're kind of in rotation, and he just takes off and goes, with his left straight down the lane. And you can be in the right spot. And the deception of him is with his size is that he's so agile of getting around guys and kind of maneuvering through the defense and finishing. So, we'll see what they're able to do tonight, if they're able to slow him down at all. It was really that second quarter for him where he took off, and that's where the paint points became so lopsided. I think it was maybe the first time out in the second quarter where I look down at the paint numbers and I'm like, wow, they've outscored us 12-0 in the paint in this quarter already. And it was all Zion. And then, you go to the third quarter and that's when Brandon Ingram got to work. And, it is not a common thing for Brandon Ingram to knock down all 5 of his 3-point attempts. He doesn't even really take them at that clip. So it was just kind of a perfect storm of Zion played really well in the paint, and then Brandon, had a game where he was playing out of his mind. And so everything came together for the Pelicans, and the Kings just could not get any type of momentum.
The other thing that happened in the game, obviously we knew a couple players were out, but then Duarte leaves the game, and the Keegan Murray injury was kind of the mystery where he didn't start the second half. We heard later, I think from you guys, that there was the lower back injury. Is there any word on when and what happened there? Was it just a tweak? What's going on with Keegan?
Yeah, we have no information on kind of where it happened. And you're right, it is kind of the mystery of it because, he played the whole first half, and then we got a message from, the Kings media relations saying like that he was not starting the game, more in the second half, more information to come. Then we're kind of waiting, and it's like, okay, he's out with a low back injury. I have no idea when it happened. And, we all can relate to a low back thing. I mean, Keegan's young, but gosh, I can go to tie my shoe and do it wrong, and my back is just out, or you can sleep wrong. So, I was telling when Kyle and I were doing the drive yesterday, the thing with all the other injuries, they're all hands and ankle injuries, and those are ones that, you're going to recover from. You're going to be able to play through a lot of the hand injuries after maybe the initial couple of days, and you'll be fine. Just play through discomfort. But back injuries worry me because that's what I played with through my whole professional career, and that's what ended up ending my career. And you look at Bradley Beal right now, who, he suffered that back injury in Phoenix during the preseason, didn't start the regular season, came back for a few games, and then he took a fall and injured himself again, and now he's out for an extended period of time. So back injuries are a little troublesome in that sense, is that they can really kind of sideline you for a while. So I'm just trying to hope for the best and see and hope that having the youth on his side helps a little bit, but we don't have any word as to, how long this could potentially be for Keegan.
Yeah, at this point listed as questionable, and that can mean anything, but I like seeing that questionable name next to Trey Lyles. Is this a night we might finally see Trey Lyles?
I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. As you know, questionable is like a 50%
sure.
kind of probability with how the NBA breaks down their injury reports. He's been working for a long time. We've seen on this road trip, he's gotten a lot more on-court action. He got 5-on-5 action yesterday for the first time, which is really, really an important step to coming back. And then it's just about, how did he feel this morning when he woke up? And the team's leaving right now to go to shoot around, and he'll go through shoot around, I imagine. And then they'll just reevaluate and see how he feels going into tonight. But it would be nice to have Trey back because it kind of gives Mike Brown some freedom with his rotations where he can really change them up. As we saw last year, there was opportunities for them to go small ball and put Trey at the 5, and his 3-point shooting capability really kind of makes that an interesting lineup for Mike Brown. And he's he's not the most athletic, quickest player, but he's a really high intelligence player. So on the defensive side, he's, usually in the right place at the right time. And despite maybe having a size disadvantage, just being able to be there, on time when he's supposed to makes, them effective as a team defensively with that lineup. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Trey because I know how difficult it is to start a season with an injury and then have lineups and rotations kind of get established. And you're kind of sitting on the sideline wondering, like, how am I going to work my way into it?
You call all these games, so you see them firsthand. Numerically, they're better defensively. Are you seeing it firsthand? Is this a better defensive team this year?
It's a way better defensive team. And I would say the area where they've made the biggest jump is just their ability collectively to defend, screen action. You're seeing guys really fight over the top of screens. They're doing a good job of being physical in that aspect and knocking people kind of off their path and being there on the catch instead of, constantly forcing rotation and getting kind of mismatches and switches and things like that. But yeah, I would say as a whole defensively, they've just made such a big jump. And going into that game the other day during that win streak, during that 6-game win streak, the Kings offense was ranked 7th during that span, and their defense was ranked 7th during that span. So, the numbers are certainly bearing it out, but the eye test for me really is their ability to kind of defend the screen action way better. And then I'm really proud of everyone, but especially, kind of the bigs in terms of their verticalities. And Keegan has been such a massive part of that jump defensively to me. I'm still so in awe of seeing a first-year player making such a huge leap on the defensive side just going into his second year.
I know, Kayte, obviously the team's going to worry about tonight, but if you and I look ahead to Friday, all of a sudden that feels like a double whammy. One, Minnesota is now top of the West, but is also an in-season tournament game. Feels like there's a lot on that one. Are you getting the vibe around the players that they're enjoying the in-season tournament?
Yeah, I think they really are. And wow, was I glad that last New Orleans game was not an in-season tournament game because of how it works with point differential and how that matters and plays into how the in-season tournament rankings and everything bears out in the end. But yeah, there's a lot kind of riding on that last game in Minnesota, and they are such a good team right now. And I mean, a really, really good defensive team as well. And that's kind of where they're having most of their success. They've got plenty of scoring on the offensive end, but man, they are making it really difficult for teams to have flow offensively. And it's tough. I mean, I remember we've played over the course of the last, 13, 14 years. I feel like a lot of the time we end up in Minnesota the day after Thanksgiving. And it's like, oh, that is a brutal game. And it's the end of a long road trip, a 6-game road trip. So there's a lot of things about that game that make it a difficult, game in terms of schedule and all of that. But they are just such a fantastic team right now. And with it being in-season tournament action, I really think that, the players understand the gravity of that.
It's amazing. These games do fly by. Like, the season goes fast, but does it seem like 2 months ago that this started? I mean, it started in LA for you guys. In fact, that night was pretty cool. You and Mark getting a birthday cake, sharing the same birthday. But that feels like that was forever ago now. That was 8 days ago.
Gosh, Kyle and I on this road trip, we've been like, when is it going to end? It does. It feels like we've been here for a long time. Mark started the trip in LA. Kyle joined us in San Antonio, and it's I'm not going to complain. I love my job. I love everything about, kind of covering the NBA and working for a team. I think that gives you a different kind of insight, but I will say that the travel, it gets like, what day is this? What day of the week is it? And it's like, normally this time of year, it's like, oh gosh, it's Monday, the week of Thanksgiving. It's like you're starting, like, you got to get your turkey, you got to get this.
Yeah.
And I feel a little lost in the sense of like, I don't have other responsibilities this week other than to pack my bag and move on to the next hotel.
Yeah. Try to remember what room you're in, right? I mean, it's just, yeah.
Oh my gosh. By the end of the trip, you're like, wait, what floor am I on?
Exactly.
Where do I turn?
Well, Kayte, thank you for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Hopefully the Kings bounce back tonight. Enjoy your trip to Minnesota as well. And we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Hey, you too. And wish Alva and Jackson a happy Thanksgiving for me, will you?
You got it. Thank you so much, Kayte. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
All right. That's Kayte Christensen joining us. We appreciate her each and every week checking in right there in the Folsom Lake